C10 Talk, episode 190. Jesse Vaughn, Level 7 Motorsports. Blane Burnett, Holley Performance, LS Fest East, baby. We're going racing. Here we go.
You know, trying to do what we're doing with trucks now is really kind of a grassroots motorsport type of thing. And I think that's why it's so appealing to guys, even if you've been into cars your whole life or four-wheel drive trucks or whatever. But like doing autocross and road race and being competitive in a pickup truck is kind of like a whole new learning curve for people. I think that's where that grassroots feel comes back.
Damn, son. If you're like me and you want the best possible products for your build, Mar-K Quality Parts has you covered, from side moldings to bedwood and so much more. mar-k.com, and follow them on Instagram too. Whether you're looking to replace your original steering, update those old brakes, or improve your suspension and handling, Classic Performance Products has got your classic truck covered. You can save 10% by using code C10TALK at checkout. 10%. ClassicPerform.com. When you're looking for classic Chevy or GMC truck parts, BrothersTrucks.com is your number one source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC restoration parts. Head over to BrothersTrucks.com and order your free catalog today. Hey guys, it's time to upgrade your stock lighting on your classic truck. For increased visibility and safety, think United Pacific. UPCarParts.com.
Let me tell you what Melbourne Toast is packing right here. I've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man is a television repairman. Ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth clapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
What's up? What's up? C10 Nation coming at you. 190. Doing it behind the mic. Here we go. I don't know if you follow social media this week, but welcome to the shit show. So something I want to put together. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but ironically enough, one of the guys, which is Hops, I think like 1973, he was on my list. He was on my list to interview probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. So he sells a truck to Dave Rob Can. Dave Rob Can lives down the road from me, a friend of mine. Well, Dave loses his shit, gets pissed off, and next thing you know, you got good old-fashioned social media spat. So I posted up, hey, you want to hear from these guys? And you all did. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Hoops is in. And I don't know where I stand on that. I mean, I've tried to get him. I've told him, dude, you got to get on here. We got to, I want to hear the story. Well, on the other end, I don't even think Dave is going to do it. I think he was, and now I think he's out. So what I want to do with Dave, and if it doesn't work with Dave, I'll get somebody else. Obviously, Sam Castronova is a great one. Boris is going to be another one that I'm going to reach out to. But it's really about the what to do if you're buying a truck. And the biggest number one thing is really go look at it. And if it's 5 states over and you're paying, 5+ figures, then you better get a lot of pictures. I personally have had one that I got out of St. Louis that I was very let down. What am I going to do? I mean, there's no way. My thought was his 3 on a 10 scale for rust is my 8 because I'm in Arizona. He didn't disclose a lot of things when it rolled off the shipper. I was pissed, man. And I disclosed it all when I sold it. I actually wouldn't sell it to somebody unless they came and looked at it, because I wanted to show them everything. And because I wouldn't want to be that guy, and I guess to give The guy that I bought the vehicle from out of St. Louis, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Like I said, maybe his 3 is my 7 or my 8. And that's one thing I think we in Arizona have to kind of consider. Did the baseline, did the bar change? I don't think so. It shouldn't. 0 rust is 0 rust. No rust is no rust. But you guys need to ask the right questions. You guys need to be looking in certain spots and certain things and VIN numbers and chassis lengths and the way it's going to work. Nowadays, last 3 years, a buddy of mine I work with in the fire department, he thought he was getting a short bed, and it was a short bed, but in its previous existence, it was a long bed. So people are not disclosing these things, and I think it's our job to educate you guys out there. So that's what I'm going to turn the shit show into, is whether it's Dave, whether it's Sam, whether it's Boris, somebody, and myself. Obviously, I've got some input on it, but we'll put some shows together for that. Okay. So what else is going on in this world? I've got new print media. So C10 Builder's Guide, the newest one, just dropped on my doorstep a couple days ago. Brand new C10 Builder's Guide, jam-packed. Make sure you guys are supporting that print media. Tons of really good stuff in there. And Brian Allen, congrats on that for getting that one on there. That's his truck, the Chief. I love that truck, and that's in there. So that's always a fun one. And a lot of killer content. And, of course, we have tons of killer trucks out there. So congrats to those guys. Daniel got on the cover. Daniel Burnett, his 84 on the cover, C10 Builder's Guide. Then, brand new, the premiere issue of the CK magazine. So that just came. Joey G, what up, what up? Joey G in the red box got on there. Kevin Aguilar shot that. And that one's fun. So this is a premiere print magazine, first one. Dave Murphy got his 63 on the cover as well. Now, you've heard me talk about Classic Truck Performance. I had those guys on. Rob Fortier, another premiere issue. Dell was on the cover with that one, a truck that Dell built. Truck Hub recently came out. The guys over from Wheel Hub and their new magazine. Mark Giambavo from Creative Rods, his truck was on the cover, and a Can Dig It truck. They're my next guest. So Truck Hub magazine, that's a quarterly book, a quarterly magazine. It's 160 pages of just, the ads are amazing. So the whole thing is jam-packed. Quarterly book. They'll be next episode, 191 next week. But one of the things while we were doing the podcast, Steven told me was, hey, we're going to give C10 Talk listeners, the C10 Nation, if you use code C10 Talk, you get 20%. So that is, again, it's a quarterly book. It's about $20 retail, a magazine. So for their subscription, a 1-year subscription, I think it's like $65, maybe a little higher than that. You get 20% off. So Truck Hub magazine, I think it's like Truck Hub Mag, Wheel Hub, any of it, you're going to get 20% off. So use code C10 Talk. So I thought that was pretty cool and let you guys know because I love the magazine and I love what those guys are doing. And it's all about, saving print because we lost some print and we need to make sure that we're getting behind that. So Stephen Kim, Robert McGaffin, and Rodney Hutcherson of Truck Hub and Wheel Hub, they're my guests for next episode 191. All right, a few shows and then we'll get into some reviews. So you've got the Pro Touring Truck Shootout in Bowling Green. I'll be headed out there for Tricky Air. Arnie, he's got his first PTTS shootout going on. That's August 7th, 8th, and 9th in Kentucky, and they are going to have a truck corral. So if you're interested and you're in the Tennessee area or the surrounding area and you want to go to a truck show on at least Saturday, the 8th, then sign up and get out there for the Truck Corral Show, and you can get online at Pro Touring Truck Shootout. Pro Touring Truck Shootout at PTTS. Kicks my ass. All right, September 4th through the 6th, Battle in Bama. 4th through the 6th, Mobile, Alabama, Battle in Bama. September 11th, 12th, and 13th, LS Fest East, back in Kentucky, and that's what this show's all about. Working our way up to NorCal that same weekend, September 13th, is going to be the C10 Intervention. Great time, great show. They sold out, I believe, at 450 trucks. Okay, September 13th, C10 intervention. Unfortunately, this week we got word that the C10's in the park in Waxahachie, Texas, one of my all-time favorite shows, canceled or essentially rescheduled or postponed for next year's show, 2021. So I talked to Terry, the mayor, the C10 mayor of C10ville, and unfortunately, they're going to have to postpone that one until next year. Waxahachie, C10's in the park. SEMA, still going, last I heard. I've heard some people saying that some other companies are not going, so we'll see what kind of happens as that continues. Dino's, I've gotten hit up 3 or 4 times this week. What's going on with Dino's? What's going on with Dino's? Right now, it's still going. Okay, I've talked to Dino, and he's watching everything, but it's still on the books, and that's where we're at right now. I'll reach out to Dino and see if he wants to sit down and talk about it, but obviously I'll let you know as soon as I hear anything that says it's not a go. I want it to be a go. I think everybody does, but I think everybody's just looking at the big picture. What I was told is Good Guys canceled everything up until that last show, which is the end of the year for them, and that will be the following weekend, November like 20th or something like that, because Dino's is November 13th. So you've got SEMA, then you got Dino's, then you got Good Guys. What I was told was Good Guys said everything's out except for that show. So maybe we can reinforce Dino to keep things going for the 10th annual Dino's Get Down, the quintessential C10 party of the year. Thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for leaving your rates, your reviews, and all that good stuff. And thanks for supporting our sponsors. Without that, we couldn't make this happen. So let me get to a few reviews real quick, and then I'll let you guys get into Jesse, Level 7, and Blane Burnett from Holley Performance. Here we go. This is very entertaining. 5 stars, Mr. Dirty Sanchez Customs. My girlfriend is the one who got me started on listening. I wasn't much of a podcast type of a guy, but after listening a few episodes, I was hooked. We took a road trip to Tennessee for the Southeastern All Chevy GMC Truck Nationals all the way from Texas. On our way home, I had C10 Talk playing and started back as far in the beginning as it would allow. I had been listening to it every day since then, and I'm currently up to date as of today. I listen while working in the shop and while driving my dually. Thanks for the awesome show, brother. Dirty Sanchez Customs, 5 stars. Thank you.
5 stars, perfect. Thank you.
The C10 Podcast, 5 stars by Low Body Mass C10. Great podcast. If you're obsessed with the Chevy trucks, 5 out of 5 stars. I've been listening since 2016 when I started my bag square project. Binged my way through all the episodes twice over. Ronnie makes you feel like you're part of the C10 family. You are part of the C10 family, brother. It's a great way to stay informed and current about the scene, aka the movement. Even if you live in New England where there isn't a lower truck scene. Digging the new OBS talk too. Keep it up, Ronnie. Thanks, Low Body Mass. Appreciate it. 5 stars.
5 stars, perfect. Thank you.
C10 World, 5 stars by Bob SXC87. Bob SXC87. Have had an 80 square body recently, a 69 3-door Suburban, and a couple 63 C10s. My favorite year with them knee-knocking windshields. Love the pod, especially love the diesel conversion pod. The Aaron Kaufman pod, who got me into hot rods with his Falcon. And the pod with Finnegan. Love it, man. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you, C10 World, 5 stars. BOB SXC87. Bob SXC87.
5 stars, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time to leave the rate and review. Share the pod, love the pod, do what you do. We'll be back next week with Wheel Hub, or I should say Truck Hub, and the boys over there. Have a great week. Late. All right, guys. What's up, C10 Nation? Sitting down today with Blane Burnett, Holley, and LS Fest East. And we have Jesse Vaughn, Level 7 Motorsports. Welcome, guys, to C10 Talk.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Jesse, Level 7. Dude, are you kidding me? What a good video you did. A great video. What a fun time watching that on the UBT, United by Trucks. You guys, what a rad shop. How did you get into building such rad trucks?
Man, the truck thing was just kind of organic, but, we started, I guess I started the business in 2001, right out of high school. I was addicted to building cars, when I was like freshman in high school. And, I lived in a rural southern area and grew up on dirt bikes and, naturally pickup trucks were, went up hand in hand with that whole scene. And, I was into 4-wheel drive trucks, and then kind of progressed into cars and muscle cars. And then it's now kind of come full circle back into the truck world as of probably 10 years ago. And man, luckily the industry's kind of trended now back along with the trucks. And man, we've been super lucky to build quite a few trucks now over the past few years.
Do you feel like because you put, such a rad product out there from the truck perspective, and for us, obviously a C10, a square body, and then you've got more trucks in the process as well over the time. But once you set a bar like that, and you're kind of were, I would say, almost like a front runner when it came to a rip and rad truck, something that you could really go out and just beat the hell out of. Do you feel like that, whether you were all in on trucks or it just rejuvenated the level that you were like, hey, people are coming to me now because I did this. I went through trials and tribulations in the process and I built this truck. And now maybe I'm kind of viewed as one of the top kind of I guess I would call it more of a muscle truck. And then people are reaching out to you, and then your business organically just started because you built such a rad truck.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the truck thing I think was organic. It wasn't my intention to build trucks. We build everything here. Right now we're building a 49 Cadillac 62 series car, a giant Power Wagon. We build Land Cruisers. Really, we build whatever. But whenever I bought that truck, I had already been racing cars. And that was just like a progressional thing for me, is I want to kind of step outside my comfort zone and do something different. And I want to race a truck. And when I was in high school, square body trucks were everywhere. Long bed 4-wheel drive square was like the hand-me-down truck. So that was always the thing that I was into, was square bodies. And man, it was like natural when I started to look for a truck to build into like I guess you'd coin it now as a pro touring truck. I looked for square bodies. So I looked for a good, clean square body for probably a year and a half before I found that one. But yeah, man, I'm a firm believer in whatever you want to be doing, do it, and that's where you're going to be. And man, it absolutely worked out to our favor, to where, we built that yellow and white truck, and, we started racing it, and people gravitated towards that. And it was like kind of a thing that was really relatable for a lot of guys, and everybody, right? Like everybody had a story to tell me when I first started taking that truck out about, their dad or their grandpa or whoever, they had one in high school. And there was just a massive connection with the common, normal working class guy that I guess people just started to talk to us about doing the same thing. And here we are now, built even a lot higher caliber trucks than my truck. It's definitely drawing people in that direction.
Your truck has also had phases too, which is cool to see, where it's not like people are just building them and then tossing them out down the road to the next guy. You could kind of, revigorate, rejuvenate, and kind of go back to the drawing board. And I know you've done that. Share real quick with the audience, just in case they haven't seen the video, and we're going to recommend that they go check it out. But your truck and the story, for me, it reminds me of, I had 2 older cousins and an older brother, and it was like I was getting their baseball mitt, their glove. It was handed down. It was like in a kind of a bad way. You're like, I don't want the hand-me-down. I want the new jeans, the new glove, whatever it is. And now as I'm older, that's really what it's all about, was having that beat up old, Rawlings glove that my cousins, and for me, it has the name on there. It has, for me, it's the last name Wetch, and it has it on there in a Sharpie. And then it went from one cousin to my brother. And then I was kind of the younger boy, and I ended up with it. And I feel like that's kind of what, maybe we should just call it the hand-me-down. I mean, it's kind of what happened with your truck. So share that. Yeah. I think that's a cool story.
Yeah, I'm into that. But, I don't know why. I think that our whole automotive culture is starting to realize, and that like all these vehicles, man, when they're original and they've been passed down for years and years, man, there's just like a soul that goes along with them, And my truck, and I've owned some other 67 to 72s, that they all had like a really worn spot on the door panel where somebody's arm sat for 30, 40 years, right? And man, if you sand that off and you repaint it, you forget about the old timer that owned the truck before you, who used to drive the farm with his arm out the window, So my truck, when I found my truck, it was like one of those stories that's like too good to be true. Like I had been looking at the time, like on Craigslist for a year and a half, and we were going to go down to Atlanta for a weekend. And one of the guys that worked here, he said, man, hop on and look and see if there's anything in the Atlanta area for this weekend. Man, as soon as I got on there, my yellow and white truck was like the first truck that popped up. Like it had just been posted. I got a hold of the guy that was selling it and said, man, like it looks good. It looks original. Is it good? And he was like, oh, it's great. It's been in my family since it was new. And I said, well, I'm coming down Saturday. I remember this very, very specific. It was Tuesday at like noon. And I said, can you send me some pictures? Like pull the carpet back. I want to make sure this thing is solid and dry. He said, yeah, man, I'll send you some pictures tonight. And I said, well, make sure you don't sell the truck. Like I'm into it. I want to make sure there's no rust, and then I'll get down there this weekend. He said, oh, yeah, no problem. He sent me like 60 pictures in an email that night. And I looked through them and I called him right away. And I was like, man, this is exactly what I want. I've been looking for a solid, dry, original truck forever. And at the time, he hadn't told me the whole story about how all his other older brothers had owned it too. But, I said, let me wire you the money. I said, I don't want it to disappear. I said, I want to make sure that I get this truck. And he was like, between one man to another, like, you've got my word, this truck's going to be here Saturday. And I said, okay, all right. Well, I'll be there Saturday at noon. Sure enough, man, I show up Saturday. He's in a parking lot with a truck. It's there. It's everything that it looked like in photos. And he went on to tell me, actually, one of his brothers was with him. And then I think his wife was with him. But he went on to tell me how the oldest brother joined the Navy or something, and he got stationed in Hawaii. So he wasn't going to take the truck. So he was just going to keep the truck here. So the middle brother bought the truck, took possession of the truck. He owned it for a few years. I can't remember what happened, but the youngest brother then bought the truck. And I guess he had some beers. He'd do donuts in his driveway. Like he did some burnout. He blew up the motor, but he always had like a sense of responsibility, like that was his brother's truck. And he put a new motor in it and a new tranny, and like the truck was always kept up. And I don't know, for whatever reason, they decided to sell it, or the youngest brother decided to put it on Craigslist. And that's how I ended up with it. But yeah, it feels cool to, for me to be able to like keep that story like fresh, in my mind, and remember those guys. And, it's like another family member, like that truck is that truck, it's not something different.
Yeah, it makes me think too, what the hell were the other older brothers who had it at one point? You're like, are you sure? Like they're okay with this? Like, they usually get the first right of refusal to buy it back. But then I think, how cool is it? Now, I don't know if you've stayed in contact with, but I wonder if they even know like to what level the truck is now.
They do. Yeah. Yeah. So I remember the youngest brother started following me on Facebook. And then I didn't hear much until I started to tear the truck apart. When I started to like take the frame out from under it and put it on the frame table, that's whenever his mom started to follow me on Facebook too. And then like they would tag each other back and forth like, oh, you see this. And now it was never like sour, but you could tell that it was like on their mind, like, oh no, man, like what's happening? And now they still like all my photos, like the mom or the son, like they'll still comment, and like, I think that they're into it and they're glad that it's continuing another life. Right.
Well, and that's what's so cool, a little bit about social media, but mostly that, if it's something that, somebody is just selling at the garage sale, they're not going to follow the journey and then, keep it part of the story. Whereas now you're part of their family with that truck. What I think would be really cool is if you ever went down there and they were able to get in it, and drive it, or go for a ride with you.
That would be cool. I've actually never thought about that. That's a great idea.
Cool. Well, Blane's sitting over there hanging out, and he's enjoying the pod here. I'm stoked that he gets to hear the story. So, Jesse, thanks for sharing that. I think that's such a kind of a vital part of what your truck is. and that they're still out there. Now, granted, you've had the truck for a few years, but I think it's one of those things where they're still out there. They're still that family truck. It's that heirloom, if you will. Now, Blane, one of my favorite things to do out here in the West is LS Fest West. Unfortunately, it got rescheduled. We were going to do, Friday Night Lights, Under the Lights. We were looking forward to that. Yeah. And then it just didn't happen. So LS Fest East is about 50 days out. I think it pretty much is 50 today. Obviously, you guys this is going to drop next week. Dude, it's in a kind of a crazy sense. We're looking at the show, and it's one of those things where it's kind of going to kick things off, we hope, in the perspective that, there's not a lot of shows going on.
Yeah, I know. That's the kind of thing that being in the event side of the business, even working for a manufacturer, that's kind of killed us is just knowing that there's a lot of people out there who worked really, really hard on their vehicles over the winter. And then, spring comes and it brought, COVID with it. So it's unfortunate that that's the case. And we really, really hope that we're able to make that happen. Everything seems to be going as planned. We're working on making sure that, we follow whatever safety guidelines and precautions we can to make sure everybody is able to come out and have a good, safe, and also very importantly, a fun time at LS Fest East. West is good because it's a different flavor. Obviously, you haven't been out to East, so you haven't been able to experience that for yourself yet. But let me know, and if you want to ship your truck out or just fly out and be a part of media, man, we'd be happy to have you.
Yeah, I definitely need to make it. I've heard that it's just, bonkers, just like West. And the analogy I use for West, and the thing about West that I really do enjoy is I've been able to take my family, my son and my nephews, and really from the beginning. And we went up there the first year with Yellowstone, and we had such a great time. And once a young kid, kind of going back to, really Jesse's truck, it's a family experience, the trucks and the community. So I get to take my nephews, I get to take my son, and then as my son, I think he's probably like 14 the first year I took him up there. I've got videos. It was kind of windy, and he's like holding this, I think it was one of those shade canopies, and he's trying to ride a skateboard and have the wind like push him, around. And
it was just super windy the first year.
Yeah. I remember you guys had those humongous concrete slabs, and you guys were literally just driving with a tractor or a forklift around and dropping off these. For the audience, I'm talking like 3 square foot cubic concrete, like 1,000-pound things that you guys were just kind of
concrete blocks, man. We were trying to make sure all the vendors had enough weight to hold their displays down safely. If you want to have a bad weekend, be responsible for letting your 10x10 or 10x20 fly into someone's expensive vehicle and see how that affects your relationship with your new friend.
Yeah. My neighbor to the north of me loves me. All of a sudden, your canopy puts a nice ding in it, and then 2 dudes are getting into a pissing match over it. But last year was phenomenal. The weather was great. We had such a good time. And again, it's something that my son definitely looks forward to. So for me, LS Fest West, I kind of like to say and on covering it from the media perspective, but it's really like being back in high school, and just being allowed to do all the stuff you're not allowed to do. And you get to do it in one kind of format. And it just lets, I guess, guys who have been pinned up all summer or all winter working on their shit, it allows us to release that and dudes be dudes and just have a fun time. And there's horsepower and there's tires and there's burning rubber and there's the smell. And it kind of goes again back to Jesse's analogy where you've got that door that's kind of wore out, and that's part of the process. Well, all those smells, tastes, and sounds, they all come together in one wild weekend.
That's a really good way to put it. Obviously the events are multifaceted. We have a lot of different things you can take advantage of, whether you're an autocross guy or a drag racing guy, or whether you just like to, polish your vehicle up and come out there and show it off to everybody. And there's just a collective of people that now, having had an event that puts all those things together in the way that we do, there's been a great amount of convergence where people that were of a particular niche now appreciate and understand other aspects of the event that they maybe wouldn't have necessarily paid much attention to or gone to on their own. Since it's there, they look at it. A good example of that's like drifting, for example. A lot of drag racing guys wouldn't pay much attention to that, and vice versa. But at LS Fest, they've swapped tools before when something breaks down. So it's a good event to come there. I always tell people, especially at our East event, you have to have your head on a swivel because there's something new going on every few minutes. And it's a good experience for everybody to get out there. And we as a manufacturer, Holley, obviously make parts that we love to see our customers install in their vehicles. That's one aspect of it. But we also like being able to be a part of everybody else's life story. Much like, Jesse spoke about with this truck, now he has a place that he can go with his truck and participate, just like other events that are out there. But our weekends are ones that you remember for years and years to come, and your kids will as well.
I think, I could show my age here, but one of the shows I grew up on was called Breakfast Club, and it really took took all the different formats of people from, you guys could figure it out. You probably watched it and for the audience as well, but that's kind of what it is when you think about all the different entities, the band people over here, the jocks are over here, and then it's all one big party. And at the end of the day, especially as we get older, you're like, oh dude, those dirt guys flying over there, let's go over there and watch that. And then last year at West, obviously there was some, significant shenanigans, the burnouts, the donuts, the RV obviously, tipping over. Those guys, the Dirt Everyday guys, did a great job on that. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And so give us kind of what would you say is the biggest difference between West and East, because I've never been to East, but my audience has definitely heard me talk about West.
All right, so East is where it all started. It takes place at Beach Bend Raceway, which is right in Holley's hometown of Bowling Green, Kentucky. It's where I was born and raised, grew up, and it's nice to be able to sleep in your own bed at night and then go back to that event every day when you're working, almost 20 hours, trying to wrangle everybody and make sure everything goes well. That event is very close knit. Beach Bend has a lot of tree coverage. The bleachers are covered, so you've got some shade there. It's got a nice hometown feel to it. When we developed LS Fest West, we had been getting barraged with a lot of people on social media going, man, when are you going to throw one for us out here on the West Coast? We can't make it all the way out there to Bowling Green every year, or at all for that matter. I mean, it's just not in the cards for some folks. So we chose Las Vegas Motor Speedway as kind of a centralized location for people, whether they're from California, Oregon, New Mexico, Arizona, I just wanted to give people a good, nice, large venue to come to. And then we integrated the off-road aspect of things too. In Bowling Green, we don't have a whole lot of ability to do that. And obviously a lot of desert off-road racing takes place out there in the West Coast and in the desert and everything on the BLM land and what have you. So that's been a nice addition to our LS Fest events.
Well, the shade and the foliage and the coverage that's probably the biggest thing, because out in Vegas, it's there's a lot more sun than there is shade, just like in Phoenix. And but I think overall the venue is perfect, and you're centrally located here again in the West, and I'll be out there now. I guess I should know this, but for Arnie Tricky Air, he's running the first Pro Touring Truck Shootout in August 8th and 9th. Now, is that at the same place? Because I don't know that he's actually said Beach Bend. I think wherever the Corvette Hall of Fame is.
We're having that event.
Where's the Corvette Hall of Fame at?
So he's having it at the Corvette Museum racetrack.
Oh yeah.
NCM. Yeah.
NCM Park.
Now, how far apart are the two?
They are about, they're maybe 5 miles from each other. Okay. That's actually a venue that we utilize for LS Fest East as well, because there's a road course component to it. And we also have our Track X and our Sept cross over there. So that's another awesome venue. It's a 3.2 mile road course in its grand full configuration, and they can split it or divorce it into two east and west courses if they need to. Huge autocross pad, and that venue actually just created an off-road park as well, with a bunch of crawl obstacles and things like that that they're going to be opening up here before too long.
Well, that sounds like a great location. I can't wait to get out there. Your event, I believe, on the 11th, 12th, and 13th for my audience. Again, that's about 50 days out. I think we have another show that weekend we're supposed to be hitting up. But nonetheless, we'll be out there for the Pro Touring Truck Shootout. You guys have all the different events. Is there any events that aren't at West that you do have at East? Hey, guys, I have Jim Flanders, Brothers Trucks on. Jim, what's the latest?
We're here. We're grinding away, selling truck parts, and really focusing on our YouTube channel.
You know, the cool thing is, myself included, I'll check that channel out. It's a great customer service, a benefit to us. When we buy something, we can get in depth and know a little bit more and know the ins and outs, especially to watch it even before you go to install the product.
Yeah, absolutely. And we built a tech center in the back of the warehouse, so we literally bring in new products, we'll build them onto a truck or put them onto a truck, and we can see instantly how much work it's going to be, how easy it is. And we put that out to our YouTube channel so people, like you said, they'll be able to look at it and go, you know what, I can do that job in a day, or I can do that job in an hour. And it basically just completes a whole package of not just selling the product to a customer, but really backing them up when it comes to showing them how to do it and just making sure that they've got everything they need to get the truck back on the road or keep it on the road.
Like I said, I've watched it myself. I love it. Now, I heard you're rearranging some stuff over there. What's going on in the warehouse?
Yeah, we actually, this last year, we've been building a ton of inventory. And for a long time, we've always said, if you don't have it on the shelf, it's hard to sell it. People want to have it on the shelf. They want to know they can call and get it out the door that day. So, we're just trying to be more efficient. We're trying to have more inventory on hand. And, we've done a really good job at building inventory over the last 25 years. So I think that's what's putting us in the lead in this truck market for sure.
I totally agree. Brothers Trucks, you guys, for all your Chevy and GMC truck parts. And don't forget, they're putting new stuff on their YouTube channel all the time, so check it out. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, I've got Kathy White, Classic Performance Products, CPP on the line. Kathy, how's it going?
Hey, Ronnie, what's up?
What's up? What's new?
We've got a ton of things for the C10 community. First things first, our 2.5-inch Extreme X10 drop spindle. So we've upgraded the current modular spindle to modern technology. This new X10 spindle is a one-piece forged, but it utilizes strong, modern, bolt-in, internally sealed bearing hub assembly. So it's low maintenance. It doesn't move the wheels out, and you can use big brakes from us or any aftermarket big brakes out there in the market.
That's awesome. What else is new?
So we have actually gone back and redesigned our aluminum fuel tanks. As you know, our fuel tanks are the thickest, strongest, and largest capacity in the industry. But now you can actually use the same tank for either a carbureted or a fuel injection application. 63 to 72, it's 20 gallons, and for 73 and newer, 22-gallon capacity.
How about that coilover kit? You guys must be killing it with that thing.
That is such a great kit. It's fully bolt-on. It's easy to install. Strongest tubular arms in the market, available with either upper and lower or just the lowers or just a coilover kit by themselves. All the mounting brackets that you need, and it also comes with dual adjustable coilover shocks. So it's really responsive. It's up to you however you want to tune the compression or the rebound. It's perfect if you're just cruising on the streets, and it's proven on the track.
Well, that's what we like. So if you need spindles, the new X10, fuel tanks, coilovers, they've got it. Classic Performance Products, CPP. And don't forget, use code C10TALK, C10TALK at checkout and save 10%. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Is there any events that aren't at West that you do have at East?
Yeah, we've got the Track X in Bowling Green out at NCM. We also drifting we have in both places. West has off-road, and we don't have that at East. And then we also have a new thing, an evolution of a thing we used to have. We used to do an engine swap challenge where two teams competed to swap out a small block Chevy and then swap in an LS and get it running. We've kind of opened that up to the masses more so. And Boxo Tool has come on board and sponsored us with two engines that we install a bunch of different parts on. And it's nothing that people can't do without hand tools, which they provide. And so they're able to have a competition that way. And at the end of the event, they give away first, second, and third place prizes, which are some pretty sizable tool chests that are stocked with tools. So that's a pretty cool addition to the event as well.
How do you qualify for that? Is that something that somebody has to submit to get in for that? Because there's only so many.
No, the great thing about that is that, well, it used to be when you were doing the engine swap itself, we had to find people who could do it and that were fine doing that in front of people. But now, like, this is just pretty much walk up. As long as you sign the waiver, as it were, they'll get you in line to go.
So when you said somebody donated a couple motors, those motors would be for that competition, or somebody has to do their own swap and then the winner gets the toolboxes?
No, we provide everything that you need there. We have 2 engines. We have duplicate orders of parts set there, so it's fair. And then we have identical sets of tools for people to grab and install all those parts on the engine. And then we just run it from start to stop with a stopwatch, and whoever's there gets their time posted. We take the fastest times toward the end of the weekend there on Sunday afternoon, and then we award first through third.
I guess so. I'm still you're saying all like 20 people can come up and they're all going to be given the motors to do it?
Yeah, so it's just under a tent. They come up, they compete, then we reset it after everybody's done, and then 2 new people come up. And they can drag race each other, but their times count towards their final time for the weekend.
No, I get it. So it's the same motors. It's not each.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
Two.
Yeah, I get it. So I'm sorry. I was like, oh, sweet. I want a new motor. I'm going to go to LS Fest East. I'm going to do a motor swap. I'm going to drive out of there with a friggin' LS. I get it. So once you do the swap, you got to pull it back out. You're doing a heart transplant. You got to take the heart back out.
We used to do an engine swap challenge where people swapped engines into 2 vehicles that we provided. What we do now is a bolt-on challenge where there are 2 engines, only engines, on stands. And they have to swap a bunch of Holley parts in place of the OEM stuff for time.
So they're not swapping into a car or a truck or anything like that?
Correct.
Oh,
correct.
No, that's fine. I think that's actually perfect. I think I was envisioning, I pull up in my 76 C10. I've got an old 454 in there, and I'm like, dude, I want to put a 6.0 in it. Holly's got me hooked up. It's like, sweet. I switch it out. I did it for time. And you're like, even if I'm the biggest loser, I still win.
yeah, not quite.
Yeah, that'd be a pricey event for sure. But so whoever wins the motor to motor swap gets potentially could win a toolbox full of tools.
Yeah, the bolt-on challenge. Yeah, with whoever has the fastest time and second and third fastest time gets some Boxo tools to take home.
Okay, cool. So Jesse, you've been involved with this event for many years now. What can you tell from the point of view perspective, the driving, a guy who builds rad stuff and who takes that said stuff and goes out and tears it up? What's kind of your thought on it, and what do you recommend for somebody who's sitting at home thinking, I need to do this. I need to first go out and watch, and then do I get bit by the bug, and now I want to build a rad truck or a rad car and go pro touring and go have some fun?
Yeah, one of the great things about LS Fest in general is that it's a good family fun event. Even if you're not in cars, like my wife, my kids, they love coming to LS Fest. I think there's something for everybody, and even if, like Blane said, even if you're a drag racer, you're going to be around drifting, you're going to be around the autocross guys. There's car shows, there's something to walk around and look at. And I don't know if you mentioned this, but you can probably talk a little bit about current attendance numbers too between the 2 venues. I know that's one of the biggest changes is just the sheer magnitude of LS Fest East over the years. Can you compare, Blane, 10 years ago to now?
Oh man. If you came out now compared to year one, you would question if people knew the event was supposed to be that weekend or not. Yeah, our first year was a hope and a prayer that people would show up. Obviously, there's usually some bad weather that moves up from the Gulf of Mexico during that week. There's always a hurricane, it seems like, during that time of year, and we usually get the residual from that. So over the years, despite that, we've had linear growth. I think maybe we had 100 cars, 150 cars the first year. And now it's absolutely massive. I think we had 1,700 cars last year, And that's the crazy thing about it, is that's all participant cars across all of our event segments. So,
do you have an estimation of attendees last year?
Last year we had around 30,000.
Yeah, that's just nuts. Yeah. So other than attendance, well, I started out as just an attendee, somebody there to spectate. I think I probably drove a car up with Chris, a friend of mine, and we hung out, for the weekend and ate some corn dogs or whatever.
GTO at the time, I think.
Yeah. And I think that, yep, I drove my 240 that first year, maybe probably 2012. Yeah, we probably attended in 11, 12, we autocrossed. And then, so we've both been bit big by, autocross and road race. So now I compete in the truck class of Grand Champion. So that means that I have to run autocross in 2 different venues for 2 days, do a speed stop challenge on Sunday, and drag race, right? Those are the 3 recorded times. Yep. And, man, that's the most fun. You got to get signed up for that one pretty far in advance, or it gets sold out. How many spots are there in normal car Grand Champion?
So between Grand Champion and autocross, just because we try to preserve the quality of everybody's weekend and make sure that everybody gets enough time out there on track, it would absolutely be lame if you came to LS Fest and we allowed 500 people to compete in that, but you only got 2 autocross runs for the weekend, right? So we cap it at 225. And then we had to create the second autocross over at NCM, like I referenced, in order to hold everybody. So we have 2 different run groups, and we've got like red and green. Red will be on, Beach Bend's autocross and the oval track on Friday, whereas the other group will be over at NCM, and then they'll invert the next day and compete on the opposite track.
So how far apart are those 2? How far apart are Beach Bend and NCM?
That's about 5 miles apart.
Okay. And so when you say you've got to run 2 courses, that's obviously the 2 courses. That's part of the Grand Champion Series and for you guys, for Holley and LS Fest, it allows you a different venue to keep more people moving and shaking and getting behind the wheel.
Precisely.
Which is what everybody wants to do. If they're out there, they want to be behind the wheel.
Yep, you got it.
Okay. So tell me what is Track X? You said that was something that, was different, and explain that.
Yeah, so Track X is something that doesn't count for Grand Champion points or anything like that. But if you bought an autocross package or Grand Champion package or our road course challenge package, for example, on one of the courses that we have there at NCM, I said that they could divorce them into an east and west course. They've got one set up for the Track X. And so what that is it's road course driving, but in some of the areas that would be really high speed and maybe hairy for people that aren't super familiar with a road course and driving at that speed, they put some cones there to slow folks down. So it makes it more of a dipping your toe into the deep end of the pool, if you will. If you don't have a lot of road course experience, you can do that and kind of cut your teeth on what it's like to be on a road course without driving 130 miles an hour and maybe, having a bad experience somehow.
Cool. I actually am just kind of putting it all together that NCM is the National Corvette Museum, and that's where Arnie's is. And I already asked you how far apart they were, but I felt like the LS Fest wasn't at the same location, but it really kind of is, in that you are running a second course.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So Jesse, what's your favorite part?
Oh man, it's all great. But I think that my favorite part is Sunday morning speed stop challenge. That's probably my favorite. So I guess to put all this in layman's terms, the Grand Champion competition is like an automotive triathlon. What you're trying to do is record your fastest or lowest time in an autocross at 2 different locations, record your fastest or quickest quarter mile time, and then speed stop challenge numbers as well, if you can get the fastest speed stop challenge. So what those do is they all go into a total, and then that's your ranking in the Grand Champion.
Is a speed stop challenge, and it's almost better that I have no clue. Does that mean exactly what it is? You got a distance, you got from A to B. Yeah. We want to see how fast you can go and how fast you can stop.
Yeah, essentially. So it's kind of like a drag race. So there's a left and a right section of the track. So it's mirrored tracks on the left and right side. And you've got a drag race start against a competitor. you both hairpin turn in opposing directions, go through a chicane, and have to stop in a stop box. And then, so your left time your left time gets recorded, and then you guys swap sides, and then your right time gets recorded.
And
so
you're not versing that person individually. It's just a time, and you go against, Blane and I are going against one another, but really I could be totally competing against Jesse when it comes down to, my standing. I love the challenge. Brother.
Right.
Yeah, that's that hand-me-down talking right now. That glove's seen a lot of ball field right there. I like that. Nasty. So you've done a lot of changes to your truck. Again, referencing the UBT video, you got a new heart in that thing. Kind of walk us through what you've done lately to that truck.
Man, yeah. So the whole progression of this truck has been a giant learning curve. I came from cars that are light and fairly well balanced, and compared to a pickup truck, they're easy. In a pickup truck, you're just set up right off the bat for bad center of gravity. Lots of weight up high. You're up high off the ground. They're front weight biased, so there's no traction in the back. So trying to make a pickup truck go fast has been just massive amounts of redoing the truck. So first season I had a theory, and you realize that it was silly. And so the next winter you make improvements and change things. And, now we're at a point where weight balance and traction are probably the biggest priorities, and trying to put the power band of the engine into a higher RPM so that, it doesn't want to upset the tires and the suspension and just lose traction easy.
Yeah, it sounds like a balance, right? I mean, like you said, speed sport, you want to go fast, but you want to be able to stop, and you want to have balance because you're doing a left to right and a right to left, and that's just part of the things where I think we get to take what you guys are doing, no different than, well, kind of, but like NASCAR back in the day. And for me as a firefighter, I mean, the cars have, evolved so much in 35 years to where what you can do with them, what we can do with them, and the horsepower. What motor is in that truck now? What's the new motor?
Yeah, so the new motor that we have is a Texas Speed 450 cubic inch LS motor. So we started out with, this is like literally the fourth or fifth motor that's been in the truck, but we started out, as a fairly budget minded, junkyard motor. I blew a couple of those up pretty quick. And then now what we learned is that we needed to get the motor package as light as possible. So now I've got aluminum block LS motor that's 450 cubic inches and can rev to like 7,400, 7,500 RPM. So that's what's in there now. So
for the listener, and just kind of from your perspective and your experience, what was happening that you were blowing those blocks up and blowing those motors up?
So that's probably my driving style for a lot of it. But yeah, I forced induction. I supercharged those motors early on, and stock pistons, and me as a driver and forced induction is definitely not that great. I'm expecting race car things out of non-race car engines.
Sure. Stock and
Jesse Vaughn likes a rev limiter too, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of memes, stock internals,
Yeah.
That was my son when he was working on his LS. I felt like he thought that he just had to have that thing, handle 700 horsepower. And I was like, that's cool. You can have that, but your truck's not built for that. You got a stock truck, and you think that you watched a lot of YouTube videos. So it's kind of funny how that works out. So what do you guys offer?
That just kind of goes back to the balance thing that Jesse and you yourself, Ronnie, mentioned. It's, you can't drop the largest motor with the most power in this vehicle you're building, whether it's, a C10 long bed or a Blazer, and expect to just go win grand champion in the truck class. I mean, people kind of have a science that they've developed to this. And that's recognizable across all three of the different categories that we have, whether it's late model, vintage, or the truck category itself. You've got to make sure you've got your suspension dialed in. You've got to make sure that, for one, you've learned how to make your car work on a 200 tread wear tire, because that's the rule that we have. If you're competing in Grand Champion or Autocross and you want your times to count, that's the rule. You have to have a 200 tread wear tire. It doesn't matter what brand it is, but so it takes a little bit of work, and people spend the time and the effort, like Jesse himself as a good example, to make sure their stuff's dialed in. And you know what? that's the thing though. If you're there, like Jesse's got Level 7 Motorsports, he's promoting his business, but the vast majority of people that are coming there just to have a weekend of fun. And so for the person who just finished swapping their truck, they can put as much pressure on themselves as they want to, but really that's on them. We've created an event that, yes, there are rules to the competition and things of that nature, but, we just wanted to create an event for people to come out there and get on track and have a lot of fun in a safe manner. You mentioned doing all the high school shenanigans and things like that. If you loop it on the autocross, who cares, man? We've got plenty of track time over the weekend. Come out there and loop the course correctly the next time. No one's going to get onto you for that. So that's the difference. That you can't just swap the largest motor in there and expect to be able to win everything. It's a little bit of balance.
Yeah. And I know, Ronnie, you kind of referred back to like early days of NASCAR or something. And, trying to do what we're doing with trucks now is really kind of a grassroots motorsport type of thing. And I think that's why it's so appealing to guys, even if you've been into cars your whole life or four-wheel drive trucks or whatever. But like doing autocross and road race and being competitive in a pickup truck is kind of like a whole new learning curve for people. I think that's where that grassroots feel comes back.
Hey guys, one of the biggest upgrades I was able to make on Orange Slice is my lighting. Think about this. You've got your old school sealed yellow lights. You put in new United Pacific headlights, boom, quadruple the lightage. They look better, they perform better, and guess what? They're safer. So you've got LED options, you've got new headlight options. They look great. And honestly, we upgrade so many things with our trucks. Why not upgrade the lighting? When you do, think United Pacific. Here's the best part. You get to save 15% off all C10 products by using code C10Talk15. Save 15% off all C10 products by using code C10Talk15. Go to upcarparts.com. That's right, upcarparts.com. I don't think you'll forget it. Save today. Thanks, guys. Give them a follow on social media too, Facebook and Instagram. Marquet has been in business for over 40 years. It all started in the original owner's garage. From humble beginnings of a couple parts in a garage to a 2-building manufacturing facility making over 6,000 parts, Marquet has grown to be one of the country's premier truck parts manufacturers. They not only design the products, but also design the tooling to build the products, guaranteeing quality control. They have made their original parts from the original trucks. Aluminum strips are double polished, creating a mirror finish, and crystal clear anodized. They use the highest quality, hand-selected show quality wood that will hold up over time. Why? Because it's kiln dried to precision moisture levels specifically for Marquet. They stock oak, pine, and mini exotics, guaranteeing extremely fast delivery. All parts are manufactured in-house in Oklahoma City, USA. They offer quality parts built by Americans for old American-made trucks. So when you're looking for body moldings, bed strips, bed wood, and so much more, think Marquet. That's mar-k.com. How many, you said the 225, but you got the 3 classes in the Grand National. How many trucks, going back to, like you said, we're in kind of a truck movement. How many trucks are in? That is 225 trucks, or how many trucks do you enter in the truck class?
No. So total for Grand Champion and Autocross across the 3 categories is capped at 225.
Okay.
Obviously, we have a lot more cars that compete because that comprises 2 of the 3 categories. But I tell you what, man, the trucks that are competing, they are pretty next level.
Yes.
I think
I like that. You see that? He just dropped that organic pop on that. That's why Jesse gets to talk all that shit when he says you ain't going to be competing against me and the hand-me-down truck, because he's next level. I like that.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah,
good. No, I think last year there was 18 to 20 trucks competing in truck class Grand Champion, something like that.
Yeah. I would have to look at
that's a lot of that style of truck.
Yeah, that's true. I would have to look at our registration and see where we're at. We get a lot of S10s or Sonomas that compete as well. And those trucks are very light, obviously.
They're super fast.
But the thing about it is, if only 18 are competing, that gives you some pretty good odds of coming out there and doing pretty good if you've got your truck set up pretty well. So that's that's kind of a public call out, if you will, to anybody who's been building an LS swap truck. Make sure you get registered for the next LS Fest. We're already sold out, obviously, for Grand Champion and Autocross this year, but between West and East, we want as many trucks out there as possible.
So when you say you're sold out because you reached the 225, but you don't cap it for trucks. So once the 225 is met, whether there's 18 trucks in Grand Champion or not, that's over.
Well, no, we cap it at 225 regardless, but we would love to see that ratio of cars to trucks. We would love to see that, change in favor of trucks. It's whoever gets registered, really. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. So there's not like, hey, we are going to save 30 truck spots. You got to get get registered. So the Corvette Camaro guy doesn't lose out just because we blocked off 30 spots for the truck guys. If you're in, you get in, because I could almost limit it, to, 8 trucks or whatever, but I kind of see what you're saying. It's like there's so many classes. I guess because the trucks have got to be the least amount then, because if there's 225 and there's only 18 trucks, then obviously, have you ever thought about that, saying, well, no, we're going to hold 25, you'd piss all those other guys off because the Camaro guy didn't get in, the Chevelle guy was like sitting over there. But have you ever said, hey, well, we're going to hold 25 because you see that there's an uptick in the build of, a momentum when it comes to the truck class?
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. We've never had any issues getting registrations though. So that's something we'll have to throw in the idea pot for upcoming events. But obviously we'd love to see that number grow for trucks. We've got trucks that compete in drag racing. We've got trucks that come and compete in the sideshow, which is a unique thing about West right now. That's another unique thing. The sideshow is, if anybody has got online and checked out, what happens in Oakland or some of the other areas out in California with sideshow events, starting up in the middle of nowhere in an intersection or something like that. We actually got hooked up with a gentleman by the name of Alex Hernandez, owns Sac Speed Shop. And so we've kind of teamed up with him in order to offer an event segment that allows people that are interested in that particular automotive engagement to come and do that at LS Fest in a legal manner and get that off the street. And so we basically set up a lot of concrete barricades in a square. We've got an in and an out and a cool down zone because, cars doing burnouts for, a minute at a time or whatever. A minute is an eternity for an engine when you ask that much of it. And so we can get people to cool down effectively afterwards. But it's a good way to get people out there and have an expression session, so to speak, with their vehicles. So we have trucks that compete in those as well.
Well, and for the audience, if you haven't, been on YouTube in the last, 5 years and know who Cletus is, but you want to talk about a sideshow. He ran the sideshow out here at West last time, and that's where, again, that name alone, and that was another, for the youth movement, my son was pretty jacked up about that, and that was fun, and that was a good time, and that's where you're taking it from the street and you're giving people a venue. And I think, again, there's never a dull moment. So whether for West, whether it's the dirt track, whether it's the vending, whether it's the drag strip, the drifting, the autocross, there's so many different things going on that it's a 3-ring circus at minimum.
Yeah, it sure is, man. We have a great amount of fun putting it on for everybody too.
So how does East look right now? So you guys are 50 days out. You've got your Grand National stuff. It's capped. It's sold out. Are there any restrictions right now that where are we at from that perspective? I guess confidence wise, where I think people are going to be chomping, man. And the good thing about this type of show is you're going to be in your vehicle for the most part. So there's a safety mechanism built in there. Some of these COVID cruises that we've seen or quarantine cruises, there's nothing that says you can't get out in your vehicle and go have a good time and, cruise around. So I think there's a lot of that going, in a positive way for what you guys have going on here in 50 days.
Yeah, so I guess the best way to put this is that we very much are looking forward to putting the event on and doing so in a way that is safe for participants and spectators alike. We have a lot of participants, we have a lot of spectators. So, a lot more will be made clear here as the days advance here. But LS Fest is still happening right now for sure.
Okay. Anything that you guys think you'll add, for East and or West?
Sorry, say it again.
Anything you think you'll add for East and or West? You like what do you have on the docket? Like something maybe where you're like
mud bog.
Yeah, mud bog. You gonna add that to
mud
East
bogs.
In your truck, Jesse?
One of the things
put them 44s on it.
I would love to see that.
Sean driver Jeep.
Really? It'd be great to have her out there and do that. That'd be fantastic.
So we're going to try to drive the Wagoneer this year and pull our trailer with my truck on it.
In the Wagoneer. So you've got a Wagoneer. Yeah. You're going to pull your truck with the Wagoneer. What's the power plant in the Wagoneer? Hopefully not that old.
LS, of course.
It's an LS, and it's the motor that was in my yellow truck for the last 2 seasons.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that was a Texas Speed built 6.1 liter LS motor, and it's in the Wagoneer now.
4L80, 6L80. What tranny? That's the. So, now I'm worried about the tranny.
So Bowler Performance built us a Turbo 400.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bowler Performance built a Turbo 400 for us, and we got that, and then the factory Borg Warner transfer case in it.
Now I want to see a picture of that.
Came out of Wyoming. It's original paint, original interior. It's beautiful.
Cool.
So it's 78, just like my truck is.
I think I've seen that on either the video or your social, but now I really want to see that setup. So I want to see the truck behind, the Wagoneer. So that'll be a fun. Yeah. You want to talk about a perfect setup for going, how far is that to go from Marion, Illinois to Bowling Green? How long does that take you?
It's about 3.5 hours.
That's the cool thing about you guys have out there. Like, I think we're spoiled out here. We've got dry vehicles and, we hear it all from you guys. But the cool thing is for recently, I took a trip. I went over to Grand Island, Nebraska. We went from there up to Des Moines, worked my way up through Iowa, ended up at Davenport. And then my son is over at Roadster Shop right now doing an internship.
Wow.
That's the fun thing that you guys have. You're so close in that you can be in almost 7 states. Like you said, hey, I'm going to go down to Georgia. I bought my truck. I can go over from Illinois. I can run over to Iowa. I can run over to Bowling Green. I can, if I'm in Tennessee, I can. So that's a cool proximity. And I think that helps for probably you guys draw a ton of people for East.
Yeah, and even where I'm at in my shop is awesome for our location is that Chicago's 5 hours north, Atlanta's 6 hours southwest, Nashville, Tennessee's 3 hours, St. Louis is only 2 hours. So, we're kind of right in the middle of all kinds of cool stuff that you can go and do.
It helps that the states are a bit smaller than what you guys have out west, too.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure. The one thing I think is funny about back east is how many counties they'll have in a state. Like 85 counties.
Take a wild guess at how many counties Kentucky has.
Like I said, like 85. I don't even know.
Higher.
Dude, that's crazy. We have like 9. We have I think we have 9 in Arizona, and I'm from Montana. So Montana probably.
Yeah, when you guys cross counties, like it's an achievement. Like
it's like
Kentucky, you wouldn't even think twice about it. You might cross a couple. Some people might cross a couple going to work.
It's almost like they made counties cities back then, and they just said, well, yeah, this is I don't know how it works from the politics of it, but it's like, oh, the county seat, the county sheriff, the county this. You're like, get out of town. How much repetition we have. Yeah.
It's the land of the free, home of the brave. Have yourself a business, have yourself your own county.
Why not? Let's do it. Level 7 county coming up next. Here we go. I'm in. It's almost as good as Hazard County, baby.
We'll just it makes it easier to pass the buck. Oh, that's Johnson County's problem over there.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, guys. So, Blane, what do you guys have that when these guys are sitting there, they're thinking about it, and they're like, hey, I need to put an LS in. I'm listening to Jesse tell me about all this stuff that he's doing with his Wagoneer and his truck, and I want to get to one of these events. I want to taste it. I want to smell it, but I need to upgrade. What are we thinking?
For those looking for parts for their C10s, if you head over to Holley.com, it's really easy to find it. Just click on products and head down to engine swap parts. And we've got a number of different swap systems available for LS swap applications. So click that there and you'll see the litany of them right there. We've got quite a few, and down towards the bottom you'll see 67 to 72 C10, the square body blazer stuff as well. So we have complete solutions for LS swaps going into those vehicles. We'll just go into one here, for example. From your engine and transmission mounts, oil pans, exhaust, products as well. Accessory drives are another area of difficulty people have from time to time, depending on what engine they're putting it in and what vehicle they're putting it in. So we've done all the work on that as well. And then with fuel tanks too, and then your fuel system accessories, that's always something you got to sort out as well, especially if your truck was carbureted before. Now you need a high pressure pump and things of that nature. The other thing I wanted to make note of too, that, it's not all LS swaps anymore either, because of the Gen 5 LT. We have released some swap products for those in 67 to 72 vehicles as well. So I guess I couldn't stress it enough, the complete solution aspect of things. And I'll stop sharing my screen here. But we wanted to release products that people could purchase and have confidence in, and not worry, oh man, I ordered this exhaust from this brand over here and this engine swap brackets, and I made my transmission cross member because that seemed like it would be an easier feat. If you get all those products from us that we've developed, they work together well as a system, and we've taken all that guesswork and all that frustration that you might otherwise have if you get out to the garage and are trying to blend parts from different manufacturers together. We've done the homework and made it easier for you.
I assume that on that when you were kind of going through it, that the 67 through 72 is also 63 to 66.
I would have to ask a couple of guys in the back in engineering.
It should be the chassis, the frame's the same. So we can get back to you on that. But I assume the 63 to 66 stuff is probably the same. It's pretty much the same chassis. The 62's got the X frame, which who knows, maybe guys want that because it adds a lot of stability to if they're going to go autocross or pro touring or something like that. But now we have so many different upgradable, manufacturers that are making everything that possible for a chassis to upgrade to, and so on and so forth. But I'm sure that it probably is pretty damn close for a 63 to 66 C10.
It may be close, but I can't confirm it.
Okay. Jesse, what's one of the things that you get asked the most when you think about your business, and then you put in your truck and your experience and you're kind of, proven? What's something that comes across, in your DMs, in your inbox the most, where you're like, this is probably the number one thing where people just aren't sure, and we've done that, we've addressed it, and this is, usually what I recommend.
Man, I don't know if there's really one thing that stands out, but everybody seems to, at least in my world, where everybody's kind of focusing on the pro touring stuff, I guess those are a lot of the questions that we field are wheel and tire fitment. We get a lot of those conversations. Brake packages, a lot of guys talk about. And then that's kind of led us into doing our pedal assemblies. Now we're starting to manufacture and sell hydraulic pedal assemblies that'll allow dudes to do manual transmission conversions. So one of the things that's been really hard for guys to figure out is when I add a hydraulic master cylinder into the equation on my firewall, like how does this work? Like, where do I mount it? What's the pedal ratio? What bore do I buy? So that's something that throughout the last 5 years, we built a pedal assembly for my truck that put the hydraulic master cylinder inside the cab on the pedal assembly, and you just hook hoses up to it and bleed it and you're done. And man, I don't know, there was probably 3 years there where I fought conflict of, man, do I want to get into this? Do I keep answering these emails? And so now what we're doing is we're just manufacturing and selling that pedal assembly that guys can drop their column, bolt that deal under the dash, and they hook the hydraulic lines up and they bleed their clutch, and then they got the pedal assembly for manual trans. So that's been a big obstacle for a lot of guys in the truck world that we've helped with. Other than that, it's all the same tech questions, that I'm sure we all get asked,
What do you think?
Complete solutions there too, man. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's tons of companies out there, whoever you are, like Holley Performance or Silver State or American Powertrain. They all sell you a transmission, a shifter, a cross member, a bell housing. They'll sell you a master cylinder, but nobody's selling the truck guys specifically, a bolt-in solution to handle all the hydraulics. So we're trying to help with that aspect of the DIY guy, doing the conversion.
Right on.
What do you see as being some of the biggest changes in the last, 5 to 7 years from I kind of look at it like you kind of are one of the guys that started it. I know we've got like the Rob McGregors out there and No Limit, and those guys are in a class of their own. But if you look back at like your truck and the lineage of the motors and the different things that you've done chassis wise and everything else, where are we going? How is that evolution, and what do you see really happening from the trucks in that they're trying to become so much more competitive? It's catching on. There's more trucks out there and compete against those Chevelles, those Camaros, those Mustangs, and those other cars.
Yeah. Lucky enough for us that we were kind of on the forefront of a trend. I wasn't, wise to what was going to happen, but, luckily our truck was kind of maybe inspiring for some other guys that are currently in this movement. But, I do see the truck thing getting more and more competitive. It happens in every grassroots motorsport. There's always an evolution of, whatever it is, stock truck, stock frame, now into aftermarket frame. And then now guys are getting lighter, and, there's Munsey Speed doing carbon composites, body stuff. There's just going to be a continual, just improvement, and refinement of the motorsport aspect of trucks, I think.
I think the evolution is fun. I think it's cool that we have, one of the things I like to say is the trucks are cool, but the people are cooler, and that couldn't be more evident than what you guys are doing at Level 7. And obviously Holley's there to support it. You're putting on great venues, great shows, and it really just makes the circus fun, and it makes it fun to be in the automotive scene, and the enjoyment that you see when you're at one of these events. And whether there's a kid that's in the grandstands, whether that's a guy, a dad, a mom behind the wheel, it's all really about just that enjoyment and having a really fun time in a family style atmosphere. And like you said, Jesse, you bring your family. Blane's creating the family event, and at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Besides that wore out part on your door right there, that's what it's all about.
That forearm sweat.
Yeah, that forearm sweat. So awesome, guys. I appreciate your time. Anything you want to throw out there before I cut you loose?
No, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for your time today. Good luck in 50 days, Blane, if we make it or not. Jesse, am I going to see you at the PTTS?
Yeah, PTTS 2020. We'll be there.
Okay, I'll see you there. Have a great week, guys. Stay safe.
Appreciate it. You too.